All right, guys. So a lot of people often beat themselves up, always say that, oh, I'm not capable of learning, I'm not smart enough. They always stress themselves out thinking that something wrong with their memory. So guys, in this video, I'm going to prove them wrong. But before I get started, I want to send a big shout out to all my subscribers for subscribing to the channel, because I do appreciate the support. And if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button to be part of the journey. Guys, I know I've been talking about a lot of sciencey stuff or things about the self. I think they're very important to understand, because if you don't understand something, when you face it or when you're experiencing it, you can stress yourself out just by not knowing what's going on. But if you understand certain things about yourself, you'll be a little bit confident. Even if you make a mistake, you're not going to beat yourself up. So it's the reason I've been focusing on talking about the self. So guys, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about how memory works and how you can learn anything you want to learn. As long as you have the time, you can learn anything that you want to learn, and there is nothing wrong with you at all. Okay, guys? So I want you to keep something in mind. You have short-term memory and long-term memory. Short-term memory is what you're using right now. You watching this video, okay, you can see a man, you can see someone talking, you could understand what I'm talking about because you're using the short-term memory. Now, we also have long-term memory. Long-term memory is basically where all the things you can retrieve. You can understand the words that I'm saying to you right now, because all of the words save in the long-term memory. So the way it works, right? Short-term memory is our attention. So our attention span only can last 5 seconds, guys. You can only hold information in the short-term memory for 5 seconds only. After 5 seconds, the information transfer to long-term memory. So you can think of long-term memory as like a hard drive where you just store information for future usage. So if you're in a room right now, you can see a chair, you can see a bed, you can see certain things, things that you can recall. The reason you can recall them is because they save in a long-term memory. When you were a kid, your parents taught you, okay, this is a chair, you sit on a chair, or it's a bed, you lay on a bed, or whatever it is. Whatever you know it because it's saved in the long-term memory. It's in your memory bank. Of course, if you don't have an information saved in the memory bank, then if I were to ask you something, you're going to be like, yo, what are you talking about? I don't know. It's because you don't know because you don't have it saved in your long-term memory. If you had it saved in your long-term memory, the minute I give you that cue, boom, you would have been able to retrieve it. You would have understand, and you would have a piles of information, details about the question, about the things that I ask you. Okay, so the reason sometimes we find it very difficult to retrieve information when we want to recall them, it's because two things. If we don't have a cue in the present moment, like in the front of you, you're not going to be able, sometimes it could be extremely difficult to retrieve the information in the future, okay? Or it could be extremely difficult to retrieve the information. So you need a cue to retrieve certain information. But if you exercise, let's say if you stimulate the information in your head often, for example, if you repeat something all the time, the information from the long-term memory will be strengthened, and when it's time to retrieve it in the future, it'll be extremely easy for you. But if you never exercise the information in your head, or you never repeat it, you never practice it, when it comes to retrieving it in the short-term memory and the thinking memory, whenever you want, it'll be extremely difficult to grab it or to get it in the long-term memory. So it's the same, it's the reason you'll find some people, when they trying to think of something, they thinking deep, they're trying to search in their mind, fuck, I can't recall it. What is it again? Oh, I can't remember. It's because you have to understand something. In the long-term memory, you have piles of information, a lot of memories from when you were a baby, man, saving there. So when it's time to retrieve something, it could be extremely difficult. The information that you're searching for could be deep down. and the piles of memories that you have. So it's the reason sometimes you find it extremely, extremely difficult to retrieve something. First of all, if you don't have a cue, it's going to be extremely difficult. And if you never exercise it, if you never stimulate it, it'll be extremely difficult. And I'm going to say one thing with short-term memory. When you see, for example, like when you walk around in a room, wherever you go on the street, when you see something, the thing is a cue. You have the name saved in a long-term memory and you're able to retrieve it right on the spot. Okay? Even sometimes when you don't have a cue, you thinking to yourself. The more you thinking about certain things, like let's say you complaining about something, the often you complain every single day, the more you reinforce the complaint in your mind. Of course, you have to understand something. Every time, guys, it's very important to understand what I'm about to say right now. Every time you retrieve an information, you also retrieve a chemical with it, a feeling, a mood with it. So if you have negative thoughts, you often repeat, or you thinking about negative thoughts, you're reinforcing it, and you're also reinforcing the negative chemicals into your system. It's the reason people often stressed out, they become depressed, they chronically stress, they feel weak because they keep on reinforcing negative thoughts, especially when someone keep on complaining every single day. The more a person complains, the more they retrieve negative or reinforce negative thoughts, strengthen it into their mind, which lead them to depression eventually. So it's the reason you have to be careful when you complain, when you argue, when you always say negative things. Basically, the more you say it, the more you put yourself in a situation, the more it's being reinforced into the mind, and which means the easier it'll be to retrieve it, because any cue will retrieve it automatically, and it's also going to retrieve the chemicals because they're together. The chemical is memory, basically. So it's something to keep in mind, guys. Negative thoughts, complaining, try your very best not to go that route, because it can become a habit. It's what habit is, guys. So it can become a habit. Once it becomes a habit, then you're going to reinforce it it's going to become reinforced all the time. And if it's become reinforced, it's strengthened, it's going to live right there to conscious memory. And boom, negative chemicals, depression, self-esteem issue, lack of confidence, a lot of different things. And it's going to go back into cycle in the future. So the future not going to look too bright in that case. All right, guys. So I want to leave you with this. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing at all. You just need to practice healthy habits, healthy thinking. If you practice healthy habits in the future, okay? In the future, you only see healthy behavior, guaranteed. Healthy mindset, healthy behavior, healthy everything, because it's what you reinforce in long-term memory. So when it reach short-term memory, it'll reach as positivity, not negativity. So guys, develop the habit of eating healthy, going to the gym, and believing in yourself. And you know what else? It's the reason knowledge is power. Get to reading. When you read, although you feel like, oh, you know what? I can't read. I don't know how to read. I'm not a good reader. And I don't even understand the books. And the books make me really, really tired. I burn a lot of energy. Because you have to understand, when you facing something, it requires a lot of concentration. And concentration, guys, is energy. Okay? So when you concentrate on something, it's basically going very strong into long-term memory. So if you're not used to reading, of course it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be extremely difficult to understand the book, and you're gonna be like, what the hell? But the more you practice it, the more you keep on reading, the more you expose yourself to books, to words. Man, in the future, when it comes to retrieve like any words you want, it won't be no problem at all, guys. Guaranteed. But if you don't have nothing in the long-term memory, if you have nothing nothing, well, not nothing at all, just basic stuff in a long-term memory. You never read books, you never add knowledge into your head, man, it can impinge in the future. Let me tell you something. I use the word impinge intentionally because a couple of years ago, I didn't even know what the hell the word impinge is. I was reading a book and I noticed the word impinge. What did I do? I searched it up, I Googled it to know the meaning, and I liked the word. Then I repeated in my head, impinge. And I wrote it down on my board. And every morning for a month, believe it or not, I'll see the word impinge. So I would repeat it in my head. Now, whenever I want to use it, it's not even an issue. Impinge basically means impact. Before, I didn't know that. So from short-term memory, transfer it to long-term memory. I reinforce it by thinking about it. And when it comes to future use, because I know the meaning, it's not an issue. I can recall it whenever I want. So it goes for everything else, guys. Practice, make perfect. And always remember, nothing is wrong with you at all. You can become confident. You can become a better version of yourself. You can develop healthy habits. You can eat healthy, but you have to make the choice to do it. My point is, guys, you have a choice. You can take the healthy path or you can take the unhealthy path. The choice is yours. But remember that the minute you develop a habit, the minute you repeat something to the conscious mind, or the minute you do something every single day, it's going to become a habit. It's going to be extremely, extremely difficult to change. Just like how you can't unlearn certain things. You can't run away from certain things, or it becomes difficult to let go negative thoughts because it already reinforced in the mind. Very important to understand what I'm talking about, guys, because, you know, sometimes when we make certain decision, we don't see the impact, we don't see the effect of it, because in the present moment, it's in the future, later on. We can see the impact, the effect of the decision. If it's negative, then it's going to be painful. If it's positive, then you're going to be happy, you're going to be satisfied. So always try your very best to make healthy decisions because it's very, very important. I know sometimes in the present moment, it could be extremely difficult to make good decision, and our mood, our feelings can tell us like, yo, we're making the right decision. But usually it becomes a regrettable decision. In the future, we experience that. It's the same way when it comes to learning or reading or adding knowledge into your head. In the present moment, you're not going to feel that, oh man, I know it. You're not going to feel that you know something. If you're reading a book right now, you're not going to feel like you understand the book. You're not going to feel like you understand the words or the things that they're talking about. You're not going to feel like it at all. You're not going to feel it. It's way in the future. You're going to be able to retrieve information from the book very easily. So it's something to keep in mind. Don't you see sometimes you will just mind your business, you're doing something, and you, boom, good piece of information just pop up in your short-term memory or your thinking mind. You're like, damn, it's a good piece of information. I probably need to write it down. It's because you added it in your long-term memory before. It was just extremely difficult to retrieve in the future. But sometimes you'll see them pop up once in a blue moon. But whenever they pop up, just write them down to remember them, because sometimes we have good ideas just pop up in consciousness, just pop up in the short-term memory. Write it down because it'll play a huge role in your future, or it could benefit you. Okay, guys? So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button for more great content. If you have anything to say, let it out in the comment section. See you next time. Ciao.